Good morning, third graders. Here is lesson 4 in Unit 2A. First of all, we'll take a look at our cumulative task, the one that we've been going over for the past week, and how our lessons have been checking off the necessary information we need in order to complete this task. Next, we'll look at our learning goals for today, and then we'll move into the main lesson, which includes a foundation piece, a comprehension piece, and finally a writing piece. And then at that point, you'll move into your small groups to complete your task work. So things that you will need for today's ELA lesson will include the Frog Princess, your module folder, your lesson 4 guide, a pencil, one post-it note, and be sure to bring your listening ears and respectful behavior. So here's another look at our cumulative task for Unit 2, Module A. We are working to either add on a new chapter or change the ending of a folktale, myth, or legend that we have read in class. Previously, we have talked about the Year of Miss Agnes as being a possible choice, which if you are a comet, that is still open to discussion, or you may choose another literary text that you may have read. The other groups will be working with a legend or a myth or a folktale that has been pre-selected for you to complete your task with. So along the right side here are the items that we have already had lessons on. We have read other literary texts in our previous lessons. We have talked about plot development quite a bit. Last week we worked on establishing a situation and introducing characters, which we will continue working on this week. And we also reviewed the sequence of events. Here are the learning goals for today. When we look at our foundation and vocabulary, these two learning goals remain in place. We are looking at determining the meaning of and use of academic and domain-specific words in our text. And also we are looking at decoding multisyllable words. For reading comprehension, we are looking to recount stories, including fables, folktales, and myths from diverse cultures. And beginning this week, we're going to be taking a look at more types of stories from this genre. Finally, in writing, this is the learning goal that we had at the end of last week. We are going to continue working on a real or imagined situation, but mostly focusing on introducing characters. So here's the first part of our main lesson. We are going to be looking at a specific vocabulary term called suitor. You may recognize this word from the Frog Princess. So independently, you are going to search through the Frog Princess to locate the word and then determine a possible definition for it. You are going to write your definition on the post-it note, including your name. When you are finished, your teacher will collect the post-it note and look for trends across what students were communicating on the post-it note, and then we will write a final definition for this word to be added to the pocket chart. So at this time, the teacher will pause the video and give you some think time to write down a definition for the word suitor. Moving on in our foundation vocabulary lesson, we are looking at a second syllable pattern called consonant vowel. This information is also on your lesson guide to use as notes if you need to go back and look for it. When looking at the consonant vowel pattern, it makes a long sound like the E in he or the O in go. The letter Y can also be considered a vowel. Y at the end of the syllable can make two sounds. We can have the long E like in the word pretty, or the long I like in the word sky. It is important to note that consonant vowel is an open syllable. This means there that the vowel is the last letter within the syllable. Other consonants can only be added before the vowel. So today we are going to practice writing some consonant vowel syllables based on the sounds that we hear. And you're going to write them on your lesson guide. There are 8 of them. And you will just record them on your guide. So let's get started. The first one, tie. So think about what letters go along with the sounds in that particular syllable. T, I. The second one is mew. You. Mew. Our third syllable, bree. Once again, that syllable is bree. Number 4, ply. Ply. Our 5th syllable is fray. Fray. Number 6, spow. Spow. Our 7th syllable, ray. Ray. And the last syllable is stay. Stay. Once again, I'll read through all of those one more time. Listen carefully for the sounds and record the letters that you hear on your lesson guide. Number 1 is tie. Number 2, mew. Number 3, bree. Number 4, ply. Number 5, fray. Number 6, spow. Number 7, ray. And number 8, ray. Moving on to comprehension, we are continuing with the central message, lesson, or moral of a story. Today we are going to look at the term moral. What does the term moral mean? Think about how this word is used in our learning goal. Let's write a definition of this word to record in our module folder. So at this time, your teacher will pause the video and we can have a discussion on what this word means and record the definition in our folder. We are going to also practice finding the central message again with another chunk of our text. Today we are going to reread page 86 of The Frog Princess. And in the space on your lesson guide, you're going to create a graphic organizer that you can use and fill in some of the details from the text about the character or characters that we are reading about. We will use the details to determine the central message and write it at the bottom of that section on the guide. So again, your teacher will pause the video and we can have some time to discuss page 86 and what we should write on our lesson handout. Moving on to the last section of our lesson for today, the learning goal is the same as last week. We are again working on establishing a real or imagined situation, but mostly focusing on introducing characters and or narrative. So when writing a narrative, it's important to remember that writers begin the story by establishing a situation. A situation has several elements. It contains the setting, the characters, and an event that begins the story. Also, a problem to be solved or some kind of conflict is introduced here. Now, last week we decided on some events that could be part of the new situation for the Frog Princess. Today, we will consider the characters and or narrator for our next scene. So think about who should we introduce next? Last week, we introduced the princess. So what character would be a logical choice for today? When we've decided on our character, let's write some words or phrases to describe this character. And we will do that on the back of the paper. If you would like to draw a quick drawing of what this character looks like, that is fine, but we're not spending most of the time working on our drawing. Our focus is to introduce the character. So think about the traits that this character is going to have and the feelings that this character will have. All of these things together will influence the sequence of events for the next situation in our story. So again, we'll have some time to pause the video and have a discussion on what this character will look like. So the last part of our lesson is taking a look at our week 2 tasks, and here is what we have for today. In foundation, we looked at the pattern consonant vowel, and today you've got a small task on nonsense words with this pattern. Secondly, for comprehension, we have a short text called The Wise Choice, where you are going to read that story and then answer a few multiple choice questions. There are 4 of them. And then on the back, you're going to identify a detail in the story and explain how it supports the central message or the theme. And you're going to write that on the back of the paper. For reading, we are continuously looking at choosing appropriate books to read silently, hopefully ones that are reading counts, because we all know that you are required to pass at least 2 quizzes this week. And please don't let this get away from you like it did last week. We want to work to read text so that you can take the quizzes as soon as possible. Don't wait until Friday to try and pass both of them. Also for reading, we are going to be looking at the first 2 chapters in the book, The Year of Miss Agnes. Miss Hankey will be doing 2 read aloud sessions of these 2 chapters if you are wanting to hear the text read aloud, or you can read it independently. Finally, for writing, your response journal, Unit 2, Module A, Lesson 4, that's how this breaks down, connects to the Year of Miss Agnes. There are 2 questions to this particular journal. Why does the first teacher leave? And as you're thinking about this first teacher, what details from the text tell you how she feels? So we've been working on explicitly stating evidence from the text or evidence that you can infer. So be sure to cite your source and your evidence as to which page you found this information on. Keep in mind that all tasks are due on Friday, November 21st, and each day several items will be added to this list. So this is ongoing. Don't waste your time. Be careful as to how you spend it so that you can complete everything by Friday. So that is the end of our lesson. Thank you for listening. Be sure to use your time wisely.